Welcome to the PharmaSource podcast. Today I'm joined by Laurent Bosseler, who's Digital Procurement and COE lead at UCB. We talked about the current state of procurement technology, some of the risks that come with using tools like ChatGPT, and the tool fatigue within procurement when teams have to use more than 50 types of software. Before we begin today's episode, I'm very pleased to announce the launch of our first live event. Pharma Procurement Live is taking place on the 9th of November in central London. It's an exclusive in-person event designed to help pharma and biotech procurement professionals 10x their impact in the year ahead. We've teamed up with Art of Procurement to create a really interactive day, filled with in-depth market trend forecasts, collaborative workshops and debates, and deep dives into some of the technologies which are shaping the future of procurement. To sign up for your free ticket, head to pharmasource.global/events. Let's get on with the show. Laurent, thank you so much for joining us. Really good to have you on the podcast.
Thank you for having me here. It's a pleasure discussing with you.
Now, you've worked for many years now in digital procurement and also being a Centre of Excellence lead at UCB. Could you start off by telling me, please, what is digital procurement? Because I think a lot of people think different things about digital procurement. I think lots of people maybe think, oh, there's all sorts of shiny, flashy toys, which I want to test. What's your philosophy on what digital procurement is?
Yeah, okay. So I might be a little bit less shiny because for me, you can remove procurement from the question, what is digital? And we completely live in a digital world all the time. So not only professionally, but also personally. I mean, we all have thousands of apps on our smartphones. And we are exposed to digital all the time. So when I want to bring this to procurement, that's a bit my reference. How can I make the life of my colleagues within the procurement organization, but also of the stakeholders that will use our services as seamless as what they have in their private life? So for me, digital procurement is how can I help them? And I will not say give them an Amazon-like experience, but give them an experience where they don't need to go into plenty of trainings. It's self-explanatory. It's easy enough for them to interact. Of course, for the end users, we are mostly talking about sourcing and procuring activities, while for my closest colleagues, it would be a bit broader, where we need to offer them solutions easy to access at the fingertip, on a risk level, sustainability level, competitive intelligence. So what we call procurement value offering is really what we give our colleagues. And having it digital is for us, having it simple so that they really use it.
So if you were to break down the whole area of procurement into different types of activity, different types of tools, which would you say the most important areas are for you right now, or for any procurement team?
So it will depend on the role of my colleagues, I would say. So I report into the CPO, and he has, of course, a complete responsibility, but my colleagues would be in charge of sustainability and risk, and therefore their digital platform would be maybe different with a risk-specific tool, something specific on sustainability like SBTI or EcoVadis. Those would be the key foundation for that colleague. I have, of course, a few colleagues working on sourcing, so really sourcing project, and there you have plenty of solutions like Coupa, Ivalua, GEP, Ariba, just to name the big ones. And we have Ariba at UCB. So we are really trying to consistently offer an harmonized experience for our buyers. And we try to also put a few mandatory steps to ensure the experience we give to the end users is the same. So that's sourcing. Then we have competitive intelligence. That's another type of tools where we try to have digital platforms with benchmark on our peers. Where are we good? Where should we improve, etc. You have, for the end users, probably some more what we call procure to pay tools, where they can go into a platform. Again, the names I gave earlier would be good actors there, and they can place an order that will then go through an approval workflow, hopefully integrate it with the supplier side, maybe with a catalog, but also with electronic invoicing, so that the flip of the PO into an invoice is relatively seamless. And we have cases, as an example, with catalogs where an end user can place an order now, and in 10 minutes from now, having received the invoice, say the invoice is ready for payment or automatically received if it's low value. So we can really, really reduce the friction from a pure procure to pay perspective, which is good for us, good for the end user, but also good for the supplier. A couple of examples here.
Yeah, but already a lot of different types of tools. For your end users or the people in procurement, how many tools would one person have to touch in an average week, say?
Yeah, it's a very, very interesting question. I am also leading the digital mission, so really a mission within procurement, where not only my team, but colleagues from other departments within procurement are participating. And one of our first mission was to look at the ESIs. So what we did is a mapping of all the UCB tools in three main areas. One is basically tools, like very basic Word, Excel, PowerPoint. Those, I mean, it's simple. The vast majority of colleagues would know those tools and would not require any further training, but still, it's an extra set of tools. So that's one bucket. Then we have an extra bucket for UCB pushed tools. Like you need to take holidays, you need to go into a specific system called ProTime at UCB, but the name is irrelevant. You go on holidays or you go on a business travel, you need to enter expense notes. It's another type of tool, etc. So we have the UCB specific tools. And then we have the UCB procurement specific tools. I named a few already, where we have Ariba sourcing, Ariba guided buying for us, Globality, which is a specific tool for sourcing, a few tools on risk, a few tools on sustainability. So the conclusion of this is that for an average buyer, and average is not a negative word, it's really a general practitioner.
Sure.
In a week or in a month, let's say, they might have to touch something close to 50 plus tools.
Oh, wow. That puts it in perspective, really, doesn't it?
Exactly. And in my role, I'm there to potentially bring new tools. What we discovered is that there is a tool fatigue, and we'd rather have a look at what we have already and see if we can't leverage it better. Maybe we don't use that module of that existing tool. Maybe we should go a bit further with that other tool, because bringing a new tool is very difficult. People are not reluctant to change, but are tired of change.
Yeah. From what I can see, it seems that the pace of change is only increasing. And it feels to me like every vendor is adding ChatGPT to their tool and various enhancements. So presumably they're all starting to merge and overlap with each other anyway.
Indeed. And when I started my career in procurement, I was interested by the digital side of tools, etc. But it was relatively easy to follow up on the key players. You had a handful of them, and you had the big ones, big beasts that would go with a fully integrated platform offering everything. So best of breed versus single platform, etc. Today, if you just look on the web, what are the key startups in the procurement digital world, you will end up with close to thousands of potential suppliers.
Yeah.
So it's physically impossible to keep up, but it's still important to know, because there might be a very specific niche player that is exactly doing what you want. So we are really trying to go to a lot of those conferences to see the use case, get a lot of conference discussion, peer network to see. I mean, the challenges we face are relatively similar to other procurement functions in other industries. And sometimes they have tested a tool that we don't, or a new approach or a new solution. So that's really a big ocean of solutions that we have in front of us now.
Yeah. What is exciting right now, would you say? I mean, are there any things which you think in the year ahead could be something which you would be interested in piloting?
Yeah, I would probably not be original because you mentioned it already, but the natural language processing, chatbot, and those type of things like ChatGPT. I mean, I'm using it myself, professionally, but personally, the power of the tool is amazing. If, and there is a huge if that you have to put there, you keep your critical mind. So don't just ask a question, take the answer and copy paste, because first you will probably go with issues of security breach and say information that you should not have told, etc. So don't upload any company content there. We have seen a few cases in the press recently with Toyota or Samsung, I guess. So keep a critical mind, but the power the system has to understand your question, to rebound on a follow-up question, to propose a concise answer, to adapt the level. So sometimes we are very procurement driven with a lot of acronyms. And when I do a policy and I show that to the CFO, she might say, you know what, I'm not sure I understand everything. And it will probably be the case of your end users. You can ask those tools, and ChatGPT is just one of them, but you can ask those tools to make it a little bit easy to understand, change the level of understanding, bring back context, etc. So this is really a game changer, I would say, in helping a professional buyer to be better. It will not help someone who knows nothing about procurement to be a buyer. But if you know already, you will be better.
What are the most interesting use cases, do you think, for that sort of natural language processing?
Yeah, I have a few ideas, and I'm testing a few ones, but again, with the big caveat that we should not upload a contract of UCB, for example, and say, ChatGPT, have a look. Because the security breach is way too high. Potentially, what you prompt in the systems has been leaked or could be leaked. I mean, the CEO of OpenAI even mentioned it himself. So you should use that as a way to validate your thinking or to bring new ideas, and help probably asking questions to your supplier. You are evaluating a solution for, let's say, supplier relationship management tools. If you are not an expert, you will write a brief, but you might not know how to evaluate the skills and the functionalities of the tool. If you ask very specific question to ChatGPT, saying, I'm looking for an SRM tool, what could be the key differentiation factor? Then it will give you a lot of interesting ideas. Again, keep your critical mind. Don't pick it up and just copy paste everything. But it really has a knowledge power that no human being can have. Use it wisely to enrich your thinking. So RFP question is an example. Contract review, but there I would wait for your company to install a ChatGPT like within a UCB instance, for example, where you have firewalls and a lot of security being covered.
So definitely don't upload contracts into the OpenAI version because of the risk of leaks.
Don't upload anything, and even the system will ask you for more context, but the system is clever. So if I just say I'm working in a Belgian pharma company specialized in neurology and immunology and blah blah blah, I've not mentioned the name, but 3 seconds after, in the answer, the system will say, as you work in UCB, blah blah blah. So we have to stay very, very generic, because those prompts, so the question you ask ChatGPT, are the property of OpenAI. So they know what you ask. They can derive things, resell that information to competitors. So extremely cautious.
That's interesting. So if you were a competitor using it, there's a chance that some of that, the contract information or some of the data, could potentially end up in the wrong hands.
Exactly. And of course, OpenAI will claim it's not the case, but you have very good hackers that would find a way.
Yeah.
You have leaks, and I mean, unfortunately, very, very, very few people read the terms and conditions when you join those sites, because it's 75 pages and you have to click OK to go to the next page. But there, be cautious that you are saying that everything you post is the property of OpenAI, for example.
Yeah. So everything that you're doing then, you're doing within a walled environment.
So I'm pushing my colleagues not to upload anything, because it's easy to access, and the system wants to upload, wants you to upload. But I'm trying to block it. I'm discussing with my IT department to see how we can have a ChatGPT-like way of working again within UCB firewall, so that you could upload something. Another example you were asking for examples is we have an internal SharePoint, like a intranet. That is very good for storage of documents, but we are not extremely good at removing all documents. So if you ask a question, of course, it will be metadata. The system will look, but might find 6 hits for the very same question with 6 documents that are maybe all overdated or expired, but end user might not know, and it will have an old view. So the idea of using a ChatGPT would be, for that question, highlight all the inconsistencies, for example.
Yep. That's interesting.
That would be also very good.
Yeah. So going back to your point about there being so many different suppliers out there, the pace of change seems to only be speeding up. What best practices would you have for procurement teams when it comes to setting a framework for their usage of these types of tools? I mean, would you suggest that individual teams should go off and run their own pilots, or how are you thinking about managing that whole process?
Yeah, so exactly not what you just said.
Yeah.
At the very beginning, it was good to test, but of course we have a limited budget, and if we just go for digital solutions, we would be out of budget after 2 or 3, and we have thousands. So what I've decided to do with the CPO is to look at it from the other way. So instead of looking at the solutions they offer, what is the problem we face? So really look into your own organization, do an as-is analysis, and check what is really bothering your people, being in the business or in the procurement organization. Have it with review this, prepare a priority list, and when you have a top 3 there that is really robust, then look in the market for solutions. I'm receiving calls from companies every day, and they all have an amazing solution that they want to sell to UCB. Great, but if I don't face the problem, I don't need a solution. A very good example for UCB again was blockchain. A little bit like the hype before ChatGPT a few years ago. I completely trust the technology, but this was addressing a need that we were not really facing. I mean, of course, security of our shipments, etc., was key. But because we were pharma, we were already extremely cautious with the shipments, temperature excursion. We have temp-tails or a lot of data loggers everywhere. Each time a box was opened, we were receiving a flag. So blockchain was a better version of that could help someone who has nothing. For us, I mean, it was not worth the investment. Just the hype was there. So we started, and we finally stopped because we said it's not bringing any solution, because we were not really facing any problem that would address.
Yep.
But overall, I mean, there is a solution for almost everything. So look at what you want, look at what you need, build a strong business case to get the funding. And we had a review from Gartner recently, you might have seen, saying that procurement organizations are not really good at selling their own solutions. We usually downplay. So we would say, yeah, we might need this, but if we already have a small part of this, etc., it's already good. And at the end, we end up with either we have no budget, or we have a budget to do only half of what we want. So I would recommend not to do that. Really build a strong business case, ask for what you need. And if you get it perfect, you nailed it, do it. If your budget manager, CFO, or whoever decides on your budget says you have only half, then don't do half the project. Don't do anything. Maybe change your storytelling. Don't wait or redo the math. But don't make compromises before you start. If you have a real business case, get the fund and get it done. If the business case is not going through, take another shot.
I mean, in some ways, I think it's easier to write business cases for sales and marketing functions, because you can directly attribute the money that you're going to get back from implementing a tool. How do you do that for the projects you're working on? I mean, are there particular metrics which would get your project greenlit?
Yeah. So of course you have the payback period, extra savings that you might bring, etc. But it's it's very theoretical.
Let's say hard to quantify.
Exactly. So what we do is rarely build a business case only on that. Of course, we put it and we show that there is a return, and depending on your assumption, 3%, 5%, 8%, the return will be shorter. But we also build this based on other criteria that would be a triangle, I would say, end user. So how user-friendly is the tool? And it might be a weird term, but it's crucial. Because if you have the best tool and end users are not willing to use it, it won't work. And if you have a half good tool, but end users are willing to use it, it's better. So we really have to show the end user usability of the solution we put and the compliance. Compliance is something that nobody wants to do. Nobody wants to read an SOP or adhere to such a document. But as an organization, procurement is mandated to make it happen. Okay. So what we try to push is how can we have our end user be compliant without knowing it. So it's really a guiding solution. And usually we have, again, the triangle, user acceptance, compliance, and the finance return. And we play on those three levels to build the business case. And then we show what is the potential outcome. But we don't go only with one of those angles. It's the three together.
If I were trying to sell you procurement technology, what would make you pick up the phone?
Don't send generic emails. That's a complete waste of time. The second I receive, I delete. I would really prefer that you know my company. You've done a bit of research and not dear UCB buyer. Like really, you've done your own research. You can find that on all companies where their annual reports, etc. Understand what could be the pain point, and then assess with an email or if this is really a real pain point that we would face, and then come with how you solve that similar pain point with another company. Again, I will only be interested if this is solving a problem I face. I'm sure your solution is good, but if you know nothing about my problem, it makes no sense for us to discuss. And I see too often commercial emails that are, automatic coming to me, and then you have a reminder a week after, and then a reminder, and then a reminder. But there is absolutely no willingness from the other side to understand our reality. And I'm not saying it's easy, but the few that are trying, at least they might get up into a call and have a 30 minutes discussion.
Yeah. Why does procurement struggle to recruit talent? Is there an image problem?
I would say probably be more sexy. It's a very, very tough world in terms of recruitment for the time being. Many of my colleagues joined, and I'm the same, joined procurement by accident, but very few are willing to leave because it's very rich, it's amazing, the discussions, the transversality with the business, etc. But it's still unknown. So when we go outside for young graduates and we say, why don't you join procurement? They have even no clue what it is. So we should work on the marketing of the function because it's a great place to be, but people are not knowing it.
Yeah. Digital is always feels like it's an attractive area. Do you find it easier to recruit people into more digital procurement type of roles?
Yes, but then I go into digital at the broader sense. I just hire someone coming from IT, for example, and I have someone that has a completely different profile. We have in the team some lawyers, etc. So we should not limit ourselves to someone who has digital procurement experience, because those profiles are very searched and difficult to find. But people willing to learn with the right mindset, that we can still find. And again, when they join, usually they are surprised with the magnitude of what we do. Yeah, it's not too difficult to find. And when they are there, usually they enjoy. But then you have to open the experience required, I would say. Don't look only for procurement experience.
Well, thank you, Laurent, so much for your time. It's been really fascinating speaking to you.
Thank you very much. It was a good conversation. Pleasure.
If you work in procurement in the pharma or biotech industry, then why not register to PharmaSource, a private members community designed to connect you with peers, share best practices, and discover new suppliers. Head over to pharmasource.global for your free membership.